was almost midnight when the rain began to fall across the narrow stretch of County Road 17, a forgotten piece of asphalt that wound through miles of empty farmland and skeletal trees. Most travelers avoided it after dark, not because of potholes or wild animals, but because of the stories, the ones whispered by truckers and late-night travelers about a man who watched the road from the shadows, a butcher who never left his post. Mark Dalton didn't believe in stories. He was a delivery driver with deadlines to meet and a truck full of frozen meat that had to reach a small diner by dawn. His GPS signaled the fastest route was through County Road 17. So he went. The first 20 miles were uneventful, the rhythmic drumming of rain and hum of the engine the only company he had, until his headlights caught something strange. A small red light flickering near the roadside, like a broken taillight. He slowed, expecting to find a stranded motorist, but instead saw an old wooden sign half buried in mud. Butcher's Rest, fresh cuts, open late. The sign looked ancient, letters faded and splintered, but the red glow came from behind it, like a lantern still burning. He almost laughed. A butcher shop here, miles from town, sounded absurd. Yet curiosity tugged at him, and against every whisper of common sense, he pulled over. The rain hissed on the roof as he stepped out. The cold bit through his jacket, and mud clung to his boots as he approached the glowing light. It came from a small shack, its windows fogged, its door slightly ajar. Inside, the smell of raw meat and iron filled the air. A single bulb swung from the ceiling, casting sickly yellow light across wooden counters, old knives, and hooks that gleamed wetly. "Hello," Mark called out, but his voice was swallowed by the hum of a generator. He noticed a ledger on the counter, its pages streaked with blood, and scrawled across one page was a list of names, dozens, maybe hundreds, each followed by a date. The most recent date was tonight. Next to it, Mark Dalton. His breath caught. He hadn't written it, hadn't told anyone his name. A cold shiver crept up his spine. Suddenly the light flickered, and something heavy moved in the back room. He turned toward the sound just as a shadow slid across the far wall, tall, broad-shouldered, and holding something long and metallic. "You lost." The voice was deep, gravelly, too calm. Mark stumbled backward, heart pounding. I was just passing through. Saw the light." The figure stepped forward into the weak light, an older man, his face lined like cracked leather, his apron soaked crimson. His hands gripped a cleaver that reflected the dim bulb's light. "Nobody passes through after dark," the man said softly. "They stop. They all stop." Mark bolted for the door, but the handle wouldn't budge. It was padlocked from the outside. Panic clawed at his chest. He grabbed a chair and smashed it against the window, but the glass wouldn't break. It was reinforced, like a display case. The butcher chuckled low, dragging the cleaver along the counter, the sound scraping like metal on bone. "You shouldn't have stopped, boy. The road's hungry tonight." He lunged, and Mark ducked just in time, the cleaver embedding itself in the wall. He shoved past the man, knocking over a rack of knives, and ran into the back room. There, hanging from the rafters, were carcasses, not animals, but human bodies, stripped and labeled like cuts of pork. Mark gagged, stumbling over bones scattered across the floor. He heard the butcher's boots behind him, heavy and slow. "I've been waiting on fresh stock," the butcher said, his voice almost cheerful. "You'll fit right in." Mark's eyes darted toward a small door at the far end. He sprinted for it, bursting into a cold storage room. The temperature dropped instantly, his breath clouding in the air. He slammed the door shut behind him and locked it, heart hammering. Shelves lined the walls, stacked with vacuum-sealed packages, meat, labeled with first names instead of cuts. He backed away, tripping over a crate. His flashlight beam landed on something, a radio. It crackled faintly, and he grabbed it, twisting the dial until a voice came through. "Anyone on County Road 17, avoid the area. Authorities investigating a string of disappearances near an abandoned butcher shop. Suspect." The rest was static, then silence. His hands shook as he tried to respond, but the radio went dead. A moment later, he heard footsteps outside the freezer door, slow and deliberate. "Cold in there, isn't it?" the butcher called. The handle rattled. Then quiet. Mark pressed his back to the door, praying the lock would hold. Minutes passed, or maybe hours, before he heard nothing but the hum of the freezer. He dared to breathe, thinking the man had gone. But when he turned toward the shelves, something new caught his eye. On one of the packages, half hidden behind others, was a label printed with his delivery company's logo, and beneath it, in neat handwriting, Mark Dalton, Prime Cut. His mind spun. He ripped it open, and inside wasn't meat, but a folded piece of paper. He unfolded it slowly. It was a newspaper clipping dated a year ago. Truck driver missing on County Road 17. Police find abandoned vehicle near Butcher's Rest. Beneath it a photograph, his own truck, his face blurred but unmistakable. He dropped the paper in horror. Suddenly the lights went out. In the darkness, a whisper slithered through the air. You can't deliver what's already been delivered. The freezer door creaked open. Mark swung the flashlight around. The beam landed on the butcher's face inches from his. The cleaver came down. When the morning came, the rain had stopped. A state trooper patrolling County Road 17 noticed the delivery truck parked by the roadside, engine still running, driver nowhere in sight. He radioed in, calling for backup. Inside the shack, there was no one. Only the faint smell of rust and cold meat lingered, and a single name freshly carved into the ledger. Officer J. Hart, October 29th. The officer outside felt a chill crawl down his neck as he peered toward the tree-line, where a faint red glow flickered like a lantern calling from the dark. By nightfall, both the truck and the officer were gone. Locals say that if you drive County Road 17 and see that faint red light in the distance, don't stop. Don't look. Don't even slow down. Because the roadside butcher is always watching, waiting for the next traveler who thinks the stories are just stories, until their name appears in the ledger, written in blood.